Sorry, Bonnie. Try that again.
Oh, it's Bonnie.
Yeah.
Aria DiMezzio.
Aria, you're looking different tonight.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to say anything. I'm
You
filling
look
in.
tired.
A little more facial
Hey.
hair than I'm
Yes,
used to seeing.
yes.
You
Well,
put on a few pounds. But it's nice to have you. Welcome.
thank you.
Well, most people know you as Nobody. That's who you usually are.
Yes. But being nobody, I can be anybody.
This is true. So you can, of course, take control of the airwaves here. Nobody, I thought you might be interested to hear that the Oregon drug decriminalization law is now in effect.
Oh, nobody cares about that.
Indeed. And this was, to me, the biggest deal out of the 2020 election. I mean, you could put the whole presidential race aside. That didn't really matter that much to me.
Yeah.
But
Well, it's like if it was Godzilla versus that other monster.
King Kong, Rodan.
You know, it's like, who cares which one you get? You're screwed either way.
Yeah, it's going to destroy. Whoever wins will destroy things. And in this case, this is actually going to be good news. And it is good news that the people of Oregon voted in a fairly large margin. I believe it was like 59%. Voted for drug decriminalization across the board. So not just marijuana decrim or legalization, but drug decriminalization of all hard drugs, small amounts of all hard drugs.
Now, I wonder how that affects. What if I have an antidepressant that wasn't prescribed to me? Is that still criminal?
That's an excellent question. Let me get into the story
Because
here.
To me, ending prescriptions is almost the most important part of ending the war on drugs.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I would be shocked if a prescription drug would put you in a jail cell, whereas methamphetamine won't now. That would shock me. But then again, government is stupid like that sometimes. So
yeah, it's on the one hand, and it also depends on how the law was written. Is there a separate law to criminalize prescription drugs, or are they criminalized under the same drug law that criminalizes the so-called recreational drugs that it turns out have in many cases more and better therapeutic qualities than the stuff put out by Big Pharma.
With the prescription drugs, they're probably just making sure that they get their cut.
Well, that's what it is for everything, I think, because if you're on heroin, they'll put you in prison for having heroin, but then if you don't want to go to prison, you can get on methadone. Now, methadone withdrawal is harder than heroin withdrawal, so it's not like it's going to wean you off it. It's going to get you more addicted. And the new one that they use is even worse than methadone. It's called Suboxone. And they say that stuff, it feels like your muscles are being pulled off your bones.
Sounds horrible.
But the thing is, so the only difference between these things is you have to jump through government hoops to get them, and the money goes to Big Pharma instead of going to the little drug cartels. It goes to the big drug cartel. But carry on, Ian. We got
so here's the
tangented.
PBS story about this. It says that police in Oregon, as of February 1st, can no longer arrest someone for possession of small amounts of heroin, methamphetamine, LSD, oxycodone, which is mostly a prescription drug, and other hard drugs, as a ballot measure that decriminalized them took effect on Monday. Instead, those found in possession would face a $100 fine or a health assessment that could lead to addiction counseling. Backers of the ballot measure decriminalizing hard drugs, which Oregon voters passed by a wide margin in November, hailed it as a revolutionary move for the United States, and they're absolutely right about that. This is huge.
It's incredible, and I'm delighted to hear it.
Because we've been saying for years and telling our listeners about, and anyone who will pay attention, about what happened in Portugal when they did the same thing, I think close to 20 years ago now at this point. It's been at least 15 years, if not 2 decades, since Portugal did this. And it's a very similar setup that Oregon did. Obviously, it was inspired by what they did in Portugal, where if you get caught with some drugs in Portugal, they are going to, or did I say, if you get caught with some drugs in Portugal, they will likely confiscate them. So it's not ideal, but then they'll give you a mandatory class that you have to go through. And honestly, I think that Oregon here is better because you have the option to pay the $100 fine and don't go to the stupid class because you aren't an addict and you don't need to be lectured to about this. So to actually have the choice is a better option.
Yeah, absolutely. And I say that as somebody who went to AA for many years and NA as well, although I liked the other one better.
AA? You liked better?
Yeah. I liked AA. Well, when I got sober, it was like I looked around NA and I said, okay, I see a lot of people here who have been clean for 10 years. And I went to AA and I said, I see a lot of people here who have been sober for 50 years. So, you know, this is where I want to get my advice.
I gotcha.
You know, but the experience, we used to see kids who would come in and like their parents caught them with a joint once. And now they're they're in some treatment center that's making them claim to be an addict, and they're not an addict. No. They got caught with a joint once.
Just wanted to get high.
You know, and it's like, and the thing is, sometimes those kids actually do eventually develop drug problems, and they're almost impossible to work with.
Well, they have to go be around people that have real drug problems.
Yeah, that doesn't ever help.
Yeah. You know, I first time I went through treatment, I felt kind of inadequate. I had to go out and, you know, make more stories before I could go back.
Cassandra Frederick, the executive director of the Drug Policy Alliance, which spearheaded the ballot initiative, said today the first domino of our cruel and inhumane war on drugs has fallen, setting off what we expect to be a cascade of other efforts centering health over criminalization.
Okay, I think she missed a bunch of dominoes in there somewhere because weed laws were the first things to start falling, and it's
that helped.
That has been, you know, and they told us the sky was going to fall.
Yeah,
when we did that, and the sky didn't fall.
No, but I get what she's saying here, nobody. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely true that weed is the bulk of the war on drugs, and it's about half from what I understand. But the other half is a huge, amount that affects a lot of people's lives. And up until Oregon's decriminalization of all hard drugs, there was no movement in any direction towards decriminalization of other drugs, with the exception of a couple of. In just the last few years, some mushroom decrim.
It's the first move on the addictive drugs. Basically, psychedelics have had some, and I'll lump weed into that broad category.
Sure.
Have had some movement, but yeah, she's referring specifically to the addictive drugs.
This is the first domino in the full war on drugs. I mean, the marijuana was a test case, and it showed that there was a path forward. It was a slow, brutal, difficult path, but finally we've seen close to a dozen states now, and DC is basically doing full-on legalization of cannabis, and of course over 30, I believe 36 or so states have medical marijuana. So I don't want to take away from any of the efforts that those people have been doing, but those people, a lot of them, the advocates for that, they would never touch any other drug verbally, right? Like they may do them in their spare time, or they may support ending the war on drugs, but when testifying in front of Congress or state representatives or whatever, they would always, eschew any other associations with any other drug decriminalization or legalization, just to focus on marijuana. And it's like, that's not good enough.
It's probably just
that was
the
the policy.
Ready.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, the people weren't ready they weren't ready for harder drugs than marijuana, but the marijuana laws getting taken down, or marijuana getting decriminalized, definitely helped people be ready to think about shrooms next and stuff like that. I know my parents used to say, like, I can't imagine people being stoned and driving, and now they're...
But that happened all the time.
Yeah.
That's the thing. People think that once they legalize the thing, now all of a sudden people are driving on weed, when people were driving on weed for decades.
Yeah.
That's been going on forever. 603-283-6160. More about this ballot measure that is now in effect in Oregon. Is the place going to burn down due to drug dopers in the streets?
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living to to survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war. Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. D-I-V-I Project.org.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, Hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me?
Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. The big news this week is that on February 1st, so 2 days ago, Oregon did finally implement their ballot measure that passed by like nearly 60% back in November. The very first of its kind, and hopefully not the last of its kind, because I suspect all of the numbers that we are going to see in another year once we can finally look at what has happened after drug decriminalization has been put into place for all hard drugs, apparently. In Oregon, a person caught with something like heroin or methamphetamine or probably prescription medications, because they mention oxycodone here, LSD, and other hard drugs, they'll either get a $100 fine or a health assessment that could lead to addiction counseling. And from what I understand, it's up to the person who's receiving the ticket.
Will they get their drugs taken away by the police?
I suspect so. That's usually how it works. I mean, I don't support that happening, but that's usually part of this. So it's a huge, huge step in the right direction. We can continue with that discussion coming up here in moments. But also, I do want to say thank you to Ellen, who is a Free Talk Live Gold amplifier. Ellen contributes $10 a month to the AMP program, and that means that she's helping us advertise, market, and promote Free Talk Live to help Free Talk Live get on more radio stations, bring new internet listeners on board with the show, and expose new people to the ideas of freedom. So if you like what we do here and you want to help Free Talk Live, then please do what Ellen did and join the AMP program. Now, she did Gold level, which is $10 a month. We only ask for $5. So if you can afford $5 a month to help us out, we appreciate that. And you get some cool perks. Head over to amp.freetalklive.com. You can do it with debit card, credit card, PayPal, or Bitcoin BTC. Let's go to your phone calls and thoughts here, and then more about drug decriminalization. But Mehdi is on the line, calling us from Canada. Mehdi, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how's it going, Ian? How's it going, Rich?
It's good. I'm glad to hear that they're still letting you guys use the telephone there in Canada. I understand that things are pretty seriously locked down. Is that the case out there?
Yeah, I'm working from home, but things are locked down. I don't know to what extent, to be honest, but it's pretty much you can't go anywhere. Like it has to be essential travel. You can't visit people unless it's like a older person living by themselves or something like that. There's all these kinds of rules, but I kind of stay to myself anyway, so I'm not sure, to be honest, what all the rules are.
We've seen video footage of Canadian police, and I don't know which province it was, but just rolling through neighborhoods at 5 to 10 miles an hour, blaring sirens just to let people know that it is a police state and that they are locking down. This is due to some curfew that has been put into place, and so they're...
See, if they're going to do it right, they got to get those speakers to say an orange-coded curfew is in effect from...
It wouldn't surprise me if they had that in some places, but in this case, it was just a normal cruiser rolling down the street at about 10 miles an hour or slower. So have you seen any of that behavior?
No, because I'm in Ontario, so Ontario doesn't have a curfew, but one of the other provinces, I think it's Quebec, they have a curfew.
Okay.
And so their premier or whatever, like I don't know if you would call it a senator or governor, whatever, like the boss of the province, made that rule upon that province.
I see.
But the province I'm living on, the boss, which is the premier of our province, didn't make that curfew rule, but he did have the lockdown rule.
Do you live in a city?
Yes, I do live in a city.
Yeah, so I know that wasn't the reason you called in, but we don't get Canadian callers very often, so I figured I'd check and see how things were going for you there. All right, so what were you calling about tonight?
Well, I was just going to let you know also, there was also a guy who was selling barbecue ribs or something like that, and he got arrested for selling it in his restaurant, but meanwhile, next door to him, there's a Costco that's selling food, and nothing happened to them.
Yeah, we followed his at least part of his case. I don't know if there have been any updates on that guy, but yeah, I don't know if that was the Toronto area or what. But so what were you calling about tonight, Mehdi?
So I have a question now. You might be getting this question a lot, or at least your listeners might be interested in. So with the crypto going up in price, I've gone interested in mining.
Okay.
And so my friend mines, and I'm going to be starting to mine Ethereum. Now, with the know your customer rules with these exchanges, I don't want the Ethereum that I'm mining getting pushed over to one of these hot wallets, because then the state will know because it's a know your customer, right? So they can always say, hey, exchange, what does this guy put in there? Mm-hmm. My question is, when I mine, can I send it to a cold wallet, or does it have to go through the internet or whatever first, and then from a hot wallet to my cold wallet?
Can we define our terms here? Because you have to remember always there are new listeners tuning in that probably have never even taken the time to learn about what Bitcoin is. Nobody, do you know the difference between a hot and a cold wallet?
Well, in the context that I know them, which is more running servers that might receive payments, your hot wallet would be the wallet that you would make payments from, that would be like automated, so it doesn't have a password on it because a computer program might have to make a payment from it, whereas your cold wallet is where you'd store the bulk of your funds.
Cold storage, the vault, if you will.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be online. One of the things that's interesting about cryptocurrency is when you pay, you're usually paying to an address, and it doesn't matter whether the wallet that's associated with the program that's associated with that address is online or offline. I can pay as many times as I want to. If I know your address, to your cold wallet, I can just pay into that over and over again, and that's ultimately what a miner will do. Is you give the mining company, or you set your miner up to pay out to a certain address, and it just sends the payments there. So as I understand it, unless there's some unusual crypto out there that has different rules, and there could be, for the most part, I'm pretty sure you can mine to a cold wallet.
And he wants to do this to get around the KYC?
KYC stands for Know Your Customer rules. And so it sounds like what you want to do, Mehdi, is you want to mine to a cold wallet to storage, and you don't want anyone to know about it. Is that right?
Then you can say that, I guess, or whatever I can say on radio.
No matter what wallet you mine to, there, or even if you mine it to one wallet and then send it to another, there's no KYC associated with that. If you sent it to an exchange and then liquidated it for dollars or liquidated it for something else, then you might have KYC with your exchange, but you could send it back and forth between wallets you ended forever, and you'd never have to do KYC on yourself. Or you could send it to me and you'd never have to do KYC.
Except he's in Canada, so I don't know what you could do with Canadian money. You probably can't help him.
Well, he would be sending me Canadian Ether or Ethereum, which works fine. I would have to send him back some money somehow.
Are you looking to turn it into Canadian dollars ultimately? Is that your plan, or what's your plan?
Yeah, at the end, at the end game, put it onto Canadian dollars. So I was just wondering, because I have a Ledger X or whatever, and I just, the address, it has like FQJL.
That's the tricky part, is going to be taking your Ethereum and then converting it into Canadian dollars. That's where a lot of the Know Your Customer stuff is going to come in, because if you use an exchange, they're going to want to know who you are in order to send money out to a bank account or something like that. So you're going to have to do an offline trade if you want to keep it off the books. You're going to have to find a human being who's willing to give you Canadian dollars.
Send it to me. I'll ship you silver.
Thank you, Mehdi, for the call tonight. I do appreciate it. Good luck to you. More coming up. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp, is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. You can dial in here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We were just talking about cryptocurrency, but we're going to come back to hard drugs. Two of my favorite topics here together tonight. And in the studio...
Cryptocurrency and hard drugs.
Yeah.
Two great tastes that taste great together.
Tonight, you've got Ian.
Bonnie.
And nobody.
And you want to join us online, please do. Head over to freetalklive.com. We were actually just off the air talking about the Matrix chat server where you can get involved with other Free Talk Live listeners there at chat.freetalklive.com. That's chat.freetalklive.com.
The Matrix is real.
That gives you the step-by-step instructions on how to get on the Matrix server, and that allows you to then interact on the existing channels that are there, which, by the way, channels can be created by anyone. Nobody, you just created like an interesting bot for your... you've got your own channel on there for
I didn't write
411.
the bot. I just installed it. But,
right.
But yeah, I've got a bot now that my Cell 411 development group is now mirrored between the Matrix and Telegram. Mm-hmm. And that's nice because if we get deplatformed from Telegram, which we may, I don't know what's going to happen. I doubt it. I created a group with 2 users last night. Mm-hmm. And I came back and there were 2 users and a bot in it. And the bot was named Group. And I don't know where the bot came from. And I'm wondering if they're starting to put a bot in each group to monitor it or something.
I don't think they would
That's
need
what
to
I
do
was thinking. But yeah, I wish I knew where that bot came from. But anyway,
But yeah, you've got a bot that actually copies over the chat rooms from your Cell 411 Telegram room and your Cell 411 Matrix room. So you're linking the 2 different systems together, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's a pretty cool thing.
So check out the Matrix server. It's over at chat.freetalklive.com. Again, that's the step-by-step instructions to get you in there where you can interact with other Free Talk Live listeners. In fact, there's a way you can call in via the server, and it sounds fantastic when you do that. So we'll look forward to hearing from you. And, of course, you can also call in at 603-283-6160. So we were just talking about Oregon and the hard drug decriminalization that has gone into effect as of Monday, where if you get caught with methamphetamine, heroin, oxycodone, other hard drugs, then if it's under a certain amount, and they have specified amounts as far as what we're talking about here, it's different for each drug. But if it's under a certain amount, then you will not be going to jail. In fact, you won't even be arrested. You'll be given a ticket. Mm-hmm. And then you can either pay $100, which I would not recommend you do, and then you can go to like some sort of a seminar or whatever, some sort of health class, some kind of addiction requirement seminar thing, and I wouldn't recommend you do that either. And I'd be curious what happens in Oregon if you don't pay the fine, if you demand community service or just refuse to pay. I wonder what they do to you.
It would be interesting. I mean, I would assume. I think every state has a way to discharge fines through jail time, because if
I
not,
wonder about that.
Huh?
I wonder about that. Like, I know they do in New Hampshire.
I think they have to, because otherwise, if they threw you in jail for not paying a fine, you'd be there forever. It'd be catch-22. How are you going to make the money?
Some jails would have you work it off.
Yeah,
hard labor.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's kind of what. I mean, if you're in jail, I mean, most of the time you have to do some kind of job if you're convicted. So,
or you sit in solitary.
Yeah, or sit in solitary.
So they say the first domino of the cruel and inhumane war on drugs has fallen, setting off what we expect to be a cascade of other efforts centering health over criminalization. And that's according to the Drug Policy Alliance's Cassandra Frederick, the executive director there. They were behind the ballot initiative, and I totally agree with her. What's going to happen here is likely going to be very similar to what occurred in both Oregon and Colorado it was Washington, actually, and I believe Colorado, that were the first two states to legalize cannabis. Was it Washington or Oregon? Anyway, one of those two.
Didn't Maine do it in like the 70s, or
they
at
did
least decriminalize it?
Yeah, they did decrim. But what happened in 2014 or around thereabouts when they legalized it was, after a year or two, the data started to come in. And the data was that things did not go insane, that people were not going, mad in the streets and shooting each other over, a bag of cannabis or whatever they thought was going to happen when they legalized it. Those things, those horror stories, those fear-mongering stories never came true.
I think they thought white women were going to have sex with black men. That was what they, that was the concern that caused it to be outlawed in the first place.
Yeah. There's a whole movie about that, in fact, called Reefer Madness.
Yeah, that's a crazy movie. Although I don't remember there actually being any black characters in Reefer Madness. I don't think that was actually the quote for that comes from Anslinger himself from some Senate testimony he gave. And Anslinger was actually there were people in his own party who said that he should resign from the Senate because he was such a virulent racist. And this was in the 1920s when the KKK would march down the street in Washington D.C. So I can't even imagine how racist he must have been to have been noticed as one in 1920.
He was racist against Mexicans too, and isn't that where the word marijuana comes from? It's
yes,
like a racist
marijuana is
slur.
Slang from Mexico.
Yeah, it's a Spanish word, and that's why they used it, was to associate it with.
Oh, okay. So the word isn't a slur. That would be bad.
No, the word isn't.
Well, it is
isn't
slang,
just,
right?
But they started using it insultingly.
Yes, it was used to actually distract people. They were trying to confuse people between cannabis and marijuana. They made marijuana out to be this really bad thing and associated with
something different.
The coloreds.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right. Because people might have known what cannabis was, but marijuana was this dangerous drug.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, big news here is that now hard drugs are going to have the same path. I think you're going to see in a couple of years, we'll start seeing the statistics will come out, and we're going to find out. I'll go on record. I don't like making predictions, but I will make a prediction on this one, and that is we're going to find out that the number of addicts in Oregon is going to go down.
That's what happened in Portugal.
That's right. Yeah. That's why I'm making that prediction, because I think the same thing's going to happen here.
Well, if more people want to take that bet than you want to take their action, I'll take some of that action too. Because absolutely, the laws. They just add to the hopelessness of somebody who's in that situation, and it doesn't make anything better.
It just ruins other parts of their lives too.
Absolutely. How are you going to, how are you going to get the rent paid if you just got arrested and now you're sitting in a jail cell while you're supposed to be at work? Well, they're going to fire you. And it doesn't matter even if you beat the criminal case later for whatever reason. You don't go and get your job
because it was
back.
Cotton candy,
or whatever,
instead of meth,
or a bag of sugar.
Happened.
Or a donut sugar. Remember the guy that got arrested for donut sugar that was like on his truck floor or something?
Now, how
did
the cops not recognize that? I mean, if anybody knows donuts.
Well, they smelled it right when they opened the car. That's how they found it.
They were probably just mad because he didn't have any donuts left for them.
Yeah.
He didn't share.
Yep. So I think we're going to see a drop in addicts, and that's not because they're going to die due to overdose. That's because they'll actually be not afraid to go and get help anymore. I think that's a huge factor with decriminalization. What else do you think they're going to see after 2 years, just the first 2 years of decriminalization, February of 2023?
I think they will see a drop in addiction, and let me qualify that a little bit. They might see an increase in the number of addicted persons, but if you look at people that have been there, I think you'll see a drop. And the reason I'm hedging there is because it's possible that people in like surrounding states who are already addicts will say, well, I'm going to go live there. Why would I stay here? But I don't think that'll become a major problem, and I don't expect it to.
The number here, if you want to join us and weigh in, especially if you're in Oregon and you're hearing what people are saying about this, we'd love to hear from you. 603-283-6160. You can join us. This is Free Talk Live.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Drug decriminalization gone into effect in Oregon. That is going to change a lot of people's lives for the better. This is one of the best ballot measures I've seen in a long time, and kudos to the good people there in Oregon for voting for it. Joining you in the studio tonight, it's me, Ian.
Bonnie.
And nobody.
And hey, if you want to learn about cryptocurrency, we touched on it a little bit earlier in the show. We had a caller, Mehdi from Canada, asking about cryptocurrency mining. If you want to learn some of the basics about cryptocurrency, it's time to get over to bitcoin.com, click Get Started at the top of the page, and go through, spend 5 minutes, 10 minutes. There's like a 2 or 3 minute long video there that you can watch that'll give you a basic overview of what makes Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash different and special, and you really, really ought to take some time. If you've heard about the Bitcoin price shooting up, and by the way, it's been going up again in the last 24 hours. I don't know if you've been paying attention to this, nobody, but it cracked through $38,000 again today.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's on the way. It seems like it's on the way back up. The fees are out of control with Bitcoin right now, which is one of the key differences between Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin. And you'll learn about these things over at bitcoin.com. So get started over there right now at bitcoin.com. In fact, I've got something I've been holding on to for a while about Bitcoin Cash, and the founder of Mega Upload, Kim.com, coming on board with it. I've teased it a bunch of times, but we never actually got to talk about it.
Is he still in jail, or what happened to him?
He got bailed out. He's currently still, it's been almost a decade.
Under indictment still.
He is under indictment in the United States, but he still is living in New Zealand, his home, and he has yet to be extradited. So he's still fighting extradition against the United States.
Interesting, but he's not fighting it from a cell. He's fighting it from home.
He's fighting it from wherever he's living, which last time I knew he was living in like a mansion. So he's fairly comfortable. So back to the story here, though, about drug decriminalization. Measure 110 on the ballot. It was what passed with about 60% voting in favor of it. It went into effect on Monday. People with possession of small amounts of hard drugs will no longer be arrested and not even have a criminal record. It'll just basically be a violation level offense. And that's amazing.
The big problem with that measure, and don't get me wrong, it is a wonderful step. It is a great domino. It's great to see that domino fall, but there's still a huge problem that they will suffer from there, and that is until the sales are legalized,
right?
The blockchain, the
black market,
supply chain will be hidden.
Yes,
and because it has to be, and as long
because
as
it's still a felony to sell
it, right? So long as the supply chain is hidden, You cannot have accountability for people who sell bunk drugs.
That's right.
And that will always have tragic consequences.
Right. Overdoses.
And you only run into that problem on the black market because anywhere else, if you say, who's the manufacturer of this, or who's the vendor, or who's the wholesaler, and they won't tell you, you're like, yeah, screw you guys. I'm not doing business with you. But you won't even tell me who's involved. Yep. But in the black market, you have to do that.
Yeah. I was wondering if now in Oregon, maybe they'll have safe places to go do drugs.
That may be the case. I mean, certainly there have been things like that in other cities, even when there wasn't decriminalization. So there were things like injection rooms for heroin users in certain cities. Those things still exist, from what I understand. So that wouldn't surprise me if there were churches or other charitable organizations that were offering something like that.
Yeah. And that's very important, especially with heroin, because people who die of heroin overdoses, most of the time they die because they were alone when they did it.
Overdosing and no one's there to help.
Exactly. Yeah. And if somebody's there to help, they can help, especially now with Narcan.
Yeah. And you'll be transmitting less diseases.
If you're not sharing needles, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, assuming they have a needle exchange built in, which I would assume
almost
that
every
some of them
injection room should have something like that.
Well, they all should.
Yeah.
But the thing is, there may be places where that would be an additional crime that whoever's sponsoring the injection room doesn't want to get involved in.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, though, nobody. Decriminalization like this does not solve the black market problems. And a big problem in the black market is unknown supply, and there's always risk involved in something like that. But the good news is, thanks to Ross Ulbricht and the Silk Road, that particular marketplace development back in 2011, which has now been, we're coming up on, what was it? It was the beginning of 2011 where that launched? I think it might have been. Anyway, it's let's call it a decade of these darknet marketplaces at this point. 2021 marks the first decade of darknet drug marketplaces like the Silk Road that has done more for harm reduction than anything else in our lifetime has, as far as the black market in drugs. There are more people alive today because they didn't buy drugs on the streets, because they bought them safely, relatively safely, through these online places where, you could get some bunk drugs, but the odds of that happening are slim to none. Whereas buying drugs on the street, there's a much higher propensity and likelihood of getting bunk product and bad product and more dangerous product that way, because on these drug marketplaces like the Silk Road, which again doesn't exist anymore, but there are a bunch of places like it that exist today, you've got open competition amongst anonymous sellers. And so even though you don't know who the seller is, the seller still wants you to like them. They still want you to come back.
And they want that good review that you're going to look at before you decide what to buy.
If you're smart, you should.
Yeah. Oh, if you're not looking at the reviews, you're a damn fool.
Correct. So the reputation matters, even though it's an anonymous marketplace. And because they're in competition with essentially the whole planet of drug dealers, it drives prices lower, it drives quality up, and it drives customer service up. So there is no better way to acquire these drugs. So I would like to encourage, anybody who's in Oregon who now is no longer facing instant felony charges for possession of some of these things, or instant misdemeanor charges for possession. By the way, they do still have a misdemeanor tier, but it's like a lot of the felony level stuff has been reduced to a misdemeanor as well. So they did do some across the board decriminalization here, and that's a good thing.
Good. Yeah, I mean, the more they can get off that, the better.
Ballot measures backers say the treatment needs to be a priority and that criminalizing drug possession wasn't working. Besides facing the prospect of being locked up, having a criminal record makes it difficult to find housing and jobs and can haunt a person for a lifetime. Right, because it's bad enough you've got a drug addiction. Now you can't get an apartment.
Now you can't own a gun.
Right.
You can't go to Canada. Although that's probably a boon given the way things are in Canada right now. But still. They do have legal prostitution.
24 district attorneys opposed the measure, saying it was reckless and would lead to an increase in the acceptability of dangerous drugs.
Who is this?
This is the state district attorneys.
Oh, yeah, those bastards are evil.
Yep.
Acceptability is the thing I was talking about earlier, just people not automatically thinking it's something bad just because they know nothing about it.
And that's a good thing.
Destigmatization.
Indeed.
Yes.
Instead of facing arrest, those found by law enforcement with personal use of drugs would face a civil citation like a traffic ticket and not a criminal citation, according to the Drug Policy Alliance. Under the new system, addiction recovery centers will be tasked with, quote, triaging the acute needs of people who use drugs and assessing and addressing any ongoing needs through intensive case management and linkage to care and services. And I don't know what all that gobbledygook means.
I was just imagining having a conversation with a cop. That's not a personal use amount. You don't know me very well, do you?
Well, unfortunately, they do have very specific amounts that are specified here. But the addiction recovery centers will be funded by tax revenue from Oregon's legalized marijuana industry. That diverts some funds from other programs and entities that already receive it, like schools. The ballot measure capped the amount of pot tax revenue that schools, mental health, alcoholism, and drug services, the state police, and cities and counties receive at $45 million annually, with the rest going to a drug treatment and recovery services fund.
Oh, God, they got to stop giving that money to the cops, though. That's awful. I mean, these are people who made their living persecuting someone, and now you have to pay tribute to them every time you smoke a doobie?
Yeah, it's still the same people.
I'd be going black market.
Yeah. I heard somewhere, and I forget where it was, that one of the states that did a legalized scheme gave the first license to a retired cop.
Oh, my God.
So the fund will be awash in money if the sales trend for marijuana continues as expected. In the 2020 fiscal year, marijuana tax revenues peaked at about $133 million. That's for one state, $133 million in tax revenue. That's a 30% increase over the previous year and a 545% increase from 2016 when pot taxes began being collected from the legal recreational marijuana sales.
Wow.
So there you go.
Well, it's still better than, having it illegal, even if you have to give money to the government.
There's more coming up. You can join us here. Hour 2's next. This is Free Talk Live. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
They want him behind bars. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Wisconsin prosecutors asking for a new arrest warrant for Kyle Rittenhouse, the teen suspect charged with killing 2 people during protests last summer.
Court documents say when detectives went to the address Rittenhouse had listed, they found out he no longer lived there. The Kenosha County District Attorney says that's a violation of bond. They filed a motion also to increase Rittenhouse's bond by $200,000, noting that neither he nor his family actually put any of their own money towards the original $2 million bond. Rittenhouse is accused of shooting 3 people and killing 2 during protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin, following the police shooting of Jacob Blake last August. He pleaded not guilty last month and claims he acted in self-defense. Rob Dawson, Fox News.
The FBI has identified the child pornography suspect it says shot and killed 2 agents yesterday and wounded 3 others during a raid in Sunrise, Florida. 55-year-old David Huber apparently killed himself after the standoff. With the Super Bowl just days away, law enforcement in the Tampa area on high alert, but acting Deputy Homeland Security Secretary David Pekoski says,
we see no specific credible threat for this event, but we want to be prepared and have resources at the ready should something like that happen, where we can support the Tampa Police Department and the Hillsborough County Sheriff.
The FBI says they continue to monitor threats, especially after last month's Capitol riot, and their security plan is constantly evolving. A man who describes himself as the sergeant at arms of the Seattle chapter of the far-right group, the Proud Boys, has been charged in connection with the Capitol riot. Ethan Nordine, also known as Rufio Panman, has been charged with obstructing or impeding an official proceeding and other offenses. He's at least the 8th member of the group to be charged in connection with the riot. America is listening to Fox News.
Alexa. Why are you still going to the post office? Do it all online with Stamps.com. Avoid trips to the post office, print postage, send invoices, letters, or packages, and schedule pickups right from your home or office. 24/7. Get close to 10% off first-class stamps, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Stamps.com, code FOX.
Reaction from world leaders to the prison sentence for Alexei Navalny, the outspoken critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin.
French President Emmanuel Macron said that, quote, a political disagreement is never a crime. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel's spokesman said the ruling was, quote, far from the principles of the rule of law. The Kremlin is digging in, accusing Western nations of, quote, hysterics over the case. Moscow is heavily fortified against further protests, and the crackdowns were violent. 1,400 people were detained. Navalny's wife, Yulia Navalnaya, in an Instagram post, thanked people for their support. Quote, I understand that there are so many good, strong, and upright people supporting Alexei and me that we don't need to step back or be afraid. Amy Kellogg, Fox News.
A country star facing backlash after using a racial slur.
Morgan Wallen's world is slowly crumbling after one of the hottest country stars in the nation was caught on camera returning home from a night out with his pals saying the N-word.
Hey, Gracie, take care of this.
The video was posted on TMZ. The fallout against Wallen was swift. iHeartMedia have removed his records. CMT removed his videos. Cumulus Media removed all the country star's music from its playlist, and Big Loud Records indefinitely suspended his recording contract. Wallen said in a statement, I'm embarrassed and sorry. There are no excuses to use this type of language ever. He added, I promise to do better. Michelle Polino, Fox News.
This week's winter storm in the Northeast appears to have broken a 100.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
The push to legalize marijuana is gaining momentum. These prescription doobies will do a whole lot more than just give patients a case of the munchies. Proponents are piping up to say that medical marijuana can help patients with some of the chronic illnesses that have been majorly killing their buzz. Unfortunately, 36 U.S. states are still not a kind bud of the legalization argument. But in states that do have the plan, the results have been, well, pretty far out, man. Patients nationwide are bluntly asking state legislatures to finally mellow out so that they and their doctors can work jointly to stop the suffering that's making a hash of their lives.
So it's clearly an issue that means a lot to these patients.
So states shouldn't toke their time with this policy. We'd be upset if patients had to wait a long time.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, and we're kicking off the second hour of the program here. As always, you're invited if you want to join us. Our number is 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Bonnie,
and nobody.
It's 603-283-6160. You can bring up what you want to discuss. You can also call us on our Matrix chat server. You can go to chat.freetalklive.com to get the instructions on how to connect to the server and also call in via Jitsi, which it takes a little bit of setting up, but we'll get it done, and we'll get you on the air, and you'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us. So whether you want to talk about drug decriminalization in Oregon, that's basically what we focused the first hour of the show on. You're certainly still welcome to call in with your thoughts on, what that's going to look like in another couple of years once we can finally get some statistics back. I think it's going to be overwhelmingly positive, and I think you're going to see other states, either through ballot measures or through legislation, they're going to start moving in this direction of drug decriminalization. It's the only sane thing that people can do to get out of this war on drugs, with the exception of ending prohibition entirely in one fell swoop. But no one has proposed that. Not even here in New Hampshire have any of the Liberty reps proposed
Nobody is
anything
saying
like
we should
that.
do that.
Nobody is saying that, and you're nobody, so that helps. But unfortunately, you're not governor at this time, so there's not much that can be done from that perspective. They
stole the election from me.
As much as I would like for the
you and Kanye.
Unfortunately, the Liberty reps here in New Hampshire have yet to actually make a similar proposal that I'm aware of. I have seen some minor decrim bills were put in last year to do decrim at sort of high levels, from ultra felony down to little felony, and from little felony down to misdemeanor. There was a bill like that last year, but it never made it out of committee. I don't think it did not get passed by either the House or the Senate. So,
and the thing is, I think strategically that's a bad plan. I think they should be putting in. I think each time they should put in the little bill, but they should also put in "Let's go whole
all
hog."
The way, yeah.
Because I think it would improve the chances of the little bill passing.
Right. It looks more reasonable then.
Yeah, and also it's I think it would make a better statement about the people who are putting it in, that I'm willing to make some real change.
Right.
And
we're making change slowly here in New Hampshire. There is a movement, for those that aren't aware, of freedom-minded people who've been coming here for more than a decade now. Bonnie, you're one of the newest movers here, so congratulations. In fact, the Free State Project, and the Free State Project is going to be celebrating this Saturday, and I believe you're coming with us, right? Nobody, you're going to the Saturday festivities?
Oh, that's Saturday, yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
it is.
I am.
Yeah, there's going to be the Porcupine Day, as they call it. And was it Mark that called last night to bellyache about that, or was that a couple nights ago?
About the numbers they claim to have.
Yeah, he's still upset about the Free State Project, and he's mad that they only made 10% of their goal, and it's well, that's still way more than any other migration has had anywhere else.
He said he doesn't hold any grudges, to be fair.
Mark?
Yeah.
Screw Mark.
That's mean.
Well, instead of belly aching for the last 2 years, he could have been actually being productive, and
helping
maybe
us.
we'd have better numbers.
He was on Free Talk Live.
Well, yeah, I mean, on occasion.
He was on Free Talk Live bitching.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, what can you do? I mean, not everybody's going to be happy. Obviously, people think that freedom should come sooner rather than later, and I don't blame someone for being frustrated that it doesn't happen soon enough. And we only live so many years, so I don't blame somebody for being upset about that. And certainly, Mark isn't the first person to throw up his hands in frustration and pack his bags and leave. I mean, he hasn't fully left, but he's gone a good chunk of the year now at this point. And as you're pointing out here, he could have done things that were helping us rather than attacking us. But regardless, it is what it is. But the reality of it is, even without Mark and even without everybody who's left, we still have new people coming here all the time. There were 2 new people that were up at our most recent Social Sunday. We had a visitor coming up from who had not yet made the move, and we had somebody there who had just made the move. And
somebody from Alaska.
That's right. A couple from Alaska was actually visiting, checking things out here. So
getting ready to move.
Yep. And this has been like every week in recent weeks. So we're seeing more people coming up here now than I would say ever before.
Yeah, I mean,
it's been
people are
amazing.
getting dislodged from where they are. They're finding that they're working at home, and now they can choose where they live.
That's true. That's been a major
jobs.
boon. I mean, it's one of the surprising positives out of this whole COVID crackdown is that now all of a sudden a lot of jobs that weren't portable before are now portable.
Yeah.
And that gives people a freedom that they never had before to be able to just pick themselves up from a place where they're paying way too much in rent, like San Francisco or Seattle, and come here.
And I'd like to say I'm from San Antonio, Texas, if you think it's too cold for you.
Yeah. And you have a blanket with you right now.
Imagine earning a San Francisco salary and living in New Hampshire.
Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Or New York City or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So if you haven't checked it out yet, you definitely ought to check out the New Hampshire Freedom Migration. There's a great movie called 101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire. You can go to 101reasonsfilm.com and you can watch it there. And it is an hour-long documentary that was produced more than half a decade ago now, but I think it still holds true on a lot of the things that it says, like the community that we have here, which is just unmatched. There's nothing like it anywhere on the planet. If you love freedom and you like the idea of being around other people that you can actually talk to, that actually understand, the ideas of liberty, then there is no better place to be than this one.
Did you know we're in IMDb because of that?
That one's in IMDb. I knew Derek Jays was in there. I didn't know that the other one was.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's just Derek Jays. But yeah, I've found out recently I have an IMDb entry that I didn't even know about.
Yeah. I took the time to do that with Derek Jays, so I don't know if that exists for
101 Reasons. Well, we should do it for 101 Reasons. What the heck?
Maybe
I don't want people to think I'm a one-hit wonder.
Nobody's a star.
It may actually be there. Okay, it is listed, but I don't see like the cast. So no one took the time to put the cast in there.
Ah, lazy bastards.
Yeah. I don't know who's listed as. That's probably Vince, the executive producer, who set that one up. So you would need to talk to Vince Perfetto and or Bo and see if one of them has access to it.
Really?
So 603-283-6160. Let's get an update here on GameStop. Nobody, you had found this story over at CBS News about the whole controversy last week that we were discussing. I think it was actually about a week ago that we first saw the news that there was this Reddit community called Wall Street Bets that had made headlines all over the place because they had organized a purchase of GameStop stock, which GameStop, for those that don't know, is a mostly defunct but still in business game store that they're selling old media. It's
chain of stores, actually.
Yeah, physical platters that they're still trying to sell, CD-ROM, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever. It's a business that is struggling and has been struggling for a long time, and their stock price was just tanking over the last few years. And then they pumped it up from like $3 a share or $10 a share to over $370, $400 a share in less than a month's time. And that made huge headlines because it nearly bankrupted a bunch of hedge funds. out there because they had a bunch of short sales placed on these stocks, and then were all of a sudden obligated to buy back the stock at a much higher price, and so that really screwed the Wall Street hedge funds over, and a lot of people were, I think, rightfully celebrating that last week. But as you predicted, nobody, that which goes up in the stocks world must come down, and
unless it goes up because it's actually got
something new going on,
the profitability to drive it. I mean, a business can become more profitable and its stock will go up and stay up.
Yeah.
But if it just goes up because somebody's gaming the price, it's not going to stay up.
They created a bubble, right?
They created a bubble.
They did. And a lot of them got pretty wealthy over that bubble. You know, they made millions. Some of these traders, these people that bought the GameStop stock, made millions of dollars, and some of them lost millions of dollars. There's a story in the news today about one of them that lost $13 million.
Oh my God.
But he also, that's probably after he won a whole lot more than that, right? Like, so he probably won.
Maybe. Depends on when he bought. What if you bought at 500 and it's at 100, you're in trouble.
No. This guy made a bunch and then lost a bunch, I think is what happened, because he didn't sell it all at the top.
Yeah, that's just paper losses.
More coming up here. It's Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish, in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
According to a groundbreaking new study published Thursday in the New England Journal of Medicine, psychologists have discovered that the average person, while ostensibly appearing to be normal and mentally sound in their day-to-day lives, immediately becomes a deranged psychotic when alone at home.
We observed hundreds of subjects with successful careers, numerous friends, and loving families. Perfectly normal. But as soon as they were at their homes by themselves, they began presenting behavior consistent with those suffering from dementia, schizophrenia, and various other acute mental illnesses.
Researchers illustrated the study's findings with footage of 29-year-old test subject Brian Temple, who, despite having a steady job and maintaining an ordinary social life, exhibited increasingly erratic and unstable activity from the moment he was alone in his apartment, including dancing in his kitchen to no music whatsoever, making grotesque faces in the mirror for extended periods of time, and seemingly having conversations with no one in particular.
This is the Onion News Network.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian,
Bonnie,
and nobody.
And, of course, you can join us here and take control of the airwaves. You can bring up anything that you want to discuss. That is the point here of Free Talk Live. We're going to go back to your calls and thoughts, but an update here on the GameStop situation. The guy that I mentioned that lost millions of dollars, the Reddit trader who claimed he made tens of millions of dollars, leading an army of amateur investors to snap up shares of GameStop. A campaign framed as pitting Main Street versus Wall Street lost $13 million on Tuesday as shares of the struggling video game retailer retreated. Keith Gill, who goes by the name Deep Effing Value on Reddit and Roaring Kitty on YouTube, revealed in a post on the Wall Street Bets discussion board the value of his GameStop holdings had sunk to $7.6 million. That was down from nearly $21 million the previous day, and as much as $50 million from last week when GameStop's shares peaked at $483 a piece. Wow, I didn't realize that they'd gotten that high.
Are they still up higher than they were pre-Wall Street Bets?
Yes.
Yeah, they're like
10 times higher.
More than that, weren't they at $3?
I don't know what they're where they scraped the lows at. That's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they had been as low as $5 or $6 within the last year, but I don't know at what time.
Yeah, now it's what, 90s?
Is it in the 90s now? I'd heard it was 100 or so, or 90.
Yeah, I think it's right around 100. Yeah.
So as you pointed out,
way to go.
As you pointed out, nobody. These are what are called paper losses, meaning that he hasn't actually sold the stock yet. He's, I mean, maybe he has, but
he needs to hurry up.
Yeah, according to this,
short squeeze does not mean that the company's going to get better.
Yeah,
it just means that you played the game better than the shorters for the moment.
Well, from all this, did GameStop make enough money to maybe do something with it? Did they make any money?
No. The only way GameStop would have made money is if they had their own stock and sold it, right? Wouldn't that have been?
Well, I mean, they can always issue more shares of stock, which that would have been the brilliant thing for them to do, would be just to issue a bunch of shares of stock, except the SEC said that there was one company that was driven up by a short squeeze and did issue its own stock, and the SEC's been saying that was a no-no because they should have known that it was because of manipulation. And it's like this whole concept of manipulation is an absurdity.
Yeah.
Because it's you should be able to play the game and let the chips fall where they may.
The government
that's how it's supposed to work.
The government manipulates money and interest rates all the time too, and they don't care about that.
Yeah. I mean, they're always accusing China of manipulating their currency value, and it's like, well, every fiat money government literally manipulates the value of its currency every time it issues or does not issue more.
That's the reason why they have a fiat currency, so they can manipulate. That's the whole point of it. Let's go to Tessa. She's on the line in Georgia. And Tessa, we do have a delay on your line, so conversation probably won't be very good. But if you have a comment or a question, feel free to go ahead with it.
I was going to say I have quite a bit of opposition to the decriminalization of drugs because I think that it will ultimately lead to legalization, and I think that could be a problem because we can't trust corporations to behave themselves now. And they already put out poison in a lot of the foods they produce, And I don't want them being able to, put drugs out there. But the other thing I was going to say is another reason I'm in opposition to decriminalization is if it's not illegal, you can't offer people plea deals. And if you can't do that, you are never going to find the people putting these drugs out there.
Well, let me address the first thing first, which is, the drugs are going to be out there whether they're sold by a corporation and made in a professional manufacturing facility, or whether they're made in my buddy Jose's bathtub. One way or the other, they're going to be made, and they're going to get out there. And if they're made in my buddy's bathtub, then they're a lot more likely to kill somebody because he's an idiot.
He's dirty.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I would say is it doesn't matter who's putting the drugs out there, because in terms of being able to track them down criminally, because they're not the cause of addiction. Addiction is not caused by drugs. Addiction is a condition that exists inside the addict. It is a condition. It's a failure to adjust to reality in some way.
They're looking to fill something.
Yeah, and the use of drugs is a symptom of that. But if he doesn't get a hold of the drug that he wants, he'll do something else. And if he can't get a hold of his second favorite drug, he'll do something else. And if all else fails, he'll go out in the front yard, spin around in the circle until he gets dizzy and falls down. And still, one way or the other, he's gonna find a way to stop feeling the way he feels. And until you deal with the condition that's making it impossible for him to be present in his life, you have not solved any problems.
No doubt. Tessa, thank you for the call. Go ahead with your comments.
My friend who overdosed and died, well, one of the last things he texted to one of our other friends was he was just looking for any drug at this point because he couldn't find what he was looking for. Imagine if he could have just went to Walmart and got the drug he was used to doing.
Yep, the amount that he was expecting to do it, because that's the other problem. Even though I do share some of Tessa's concerns, like I'm no big fan of mega corporate drug manufacturers, right? Like no fan.
Yeah.
But one thing's for sure, when you go buy aspirin off the shelf at the local drugstore or Walgreens or whatever,
it's never fentanyl.
Right. It's always aspirin every time, and the count is correct. You know exactly what you're getting, the amount of milligrams of whatever, acetaminophen or whatever in the product that you're buying, and there's a liability on their part if they get that wrong. So unless it's a vaccine, of course, which we've talked about, but generally there's a liability with these manufacturers in the legal marketplace because there's competition and you know the supply chain, you know where these things are coming from. But that said, I do have some concerns about legalization, but not for the reason she's concerned with. I am concerned because I want people to be able to manufacture these things without having to ask government permission and without having to get a special license or without needing a license to sell these things or to grow marijuana or whatever. And that's what we've seen in every state so far with legalization of marijuana is there's a big regulatory structure that gets built up around it, and that adds unnecessary cost. It adds taxation. It adds bureaucracy, and it makes it so that only a few players can actually have wholesale access to the marketplace. And so it's a artificially restricted market under legalization. Now, it's not as bad as prohibition, so it's better than prohibition in that most people who were going to jail before aren't going to be going to jail. But if you still grow marijuana without a permission slip, they'll still put you in jail.
Yeah, because they're still enforcing a cartel.
Right.
This whole thing is a turf war between gangs. It's just not pitched that way.
Yep. So if we could actually have total drug decriminalization, meaning no penalties whatsoever, total depenalization, that would actually be better than having legalization with regulations and taxes.
Yeah. All we need is repeal.
We're coming up.
The Shire Free Church offers a sanctuary to those seeking an escape from state churches.
The Shire Free Church is an interfaith, diverse group of people that may not share identical theological beliefs. As a member in or minister of the Shire Free Church, you are a sovereign individual and may be the faith of your choice.
We don't claim to have all of the answers.
We are open to all peaceful people.
We want to learn from each other.
What unifies the Shire Free Church and its diverse members is peace,
love, and liberty. There are many paths to God, one for every individual.
The Shire Free Church does not define a specific path beyond those parameters that must be your foundation.
Peace as your way,
love as your guide,
and liberty as your light.
Learn more at church.shiresociety.com.
That's church.shiresociety.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit shiresociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at shiresociety.com. That's shiresociety.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up anything you want here. Our number is 603-283-6160. We were just getting into the latest on GameStop, which there was really no reason to talk about GameStop prior to last week. It was fairly unremarkable as far as a company goes. We're not a stock show. We don't really talk about stocks here on Free Talk Live, but
don't put any stock in them.
Well, you should. If you're going to do it, you should have done it 2 weeks ago when no one knew about what was going on. Unless you were in the one group that was talking about it on the internet, as soon as
didn't know.
As soon as it broke into the mainstream news, it was too late to buy at that point.
Yeah, because basically, not only has most of the upside already been realized by the time it becomes news, but if somebody's a savvy trader and they hear about that, they're gonna immediately say what I said, which is, well, it's gonna go down again pretty soon, so then they're gonna come in and short it. And I'm sure that there was another round of short selling when it hit the news that this had been driven to these dizzying heights that, the fundamentals of the stock didn't justify.
Right. And now it's back in the news because, again, there are people who they held on. The part of the narrative of this whole buy the GameStop stock thing was to hold the stock, to continue to hold the stock, with the idea being that if enough people held the stock, it would keep the restriction on the market supply and drive the price up even further. And
that's not going to work.
Well, it may have worked temporarily, but enough people wanted to sell it to where you can't convince a whole group of people to do the same thing for very long. That's not going to work.
Yeah, especially when they've got a large amount of money at stake,
right,
where, it's like, I've made $100,000 off this, and now you want me to hold on in case I make more. And
if you've got debts to pay, you want to sell. Right then.
And just, if you're sensible, you want to sell because the idea, the reversal that people get is they think that companies fail because of short sellers. And it's like, no, short sellers get involved because the company's going to fail. Yeah. If short sellers get involved and the company doesn't fail, then they don't make money, they lose money, and then they become former short sellers.
Right. And maybe that's going to be the case with some of these hedge funds that have lost billions of dollars over the last week.
Well, I mean, what the hedge funds probably should have done at that point, if they were able to get the capital, is double down on their short positions once the stock had been driven to these crazy heights because it had to go down again.
Yeah.
And that's what I would have done. I would have said, okay, double down.
Yeah.
They're not. We're basing our decision on the actual fundamentals of the stock, and they're basing it on emotionalism. Who's gonna win?
It was a fascinating thing to watch, though. I mean, like I said, I don't pay attention to stocks. I really don't care about them for the most part. It's kind of interesting sometimes, but you're always just betting on the future of a company, and companies are run by people, and a lot of them are going to make stupid decisions, and they're going to fail. And it basically is gambling.
The idea is to look at the company and find out how stupid the people running it are by observing its behavior. And if you bet on smart people who make smart decisions, you're going to win pretty consistently. So it's not gambling in the way that roulette is gambling. There's nothing random about it. It's it's
still
a game
gamble.
Of skill. It's not a game of chance.
Well, I mean, there's definitely research that you can put into it, but you can put all the research you want into a thing, and you still don't know what the market's going to think about it.
You will never be 100% correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Nobody will come up with the right answer every time, but if you put the research into it, you can make money consistently.
Yeah,
this is not blackjack.
They did do that because they started looking at GameStop back in September last year before they actually did this, because they just eyeballed it as one of the companies that's failing.
Well, that's all they did, though. They only researched it as a company that's failing and one they could target because it had these what they're called short sells on it. They can they can see where the short sells are at, and so they know that they exist, and that's why they targeted GameStop. They didn't do this because they expected GameStop to all of a sudden get their S together and come back and be able to actually be a profitable company again.
But the idea of holding that long position forever,
that's crazy.
Is crazy because that's what it's predicated on, is we've saved the company. And some companies can be saved by a cash injection, but there is no indication that a bridge loan was going to pull GameStop's fat out of the fire.
Yep, and now their stock is floating at about, according to Google, $92.41 as of today's close. So it's down significantly from where it was a week ago. And where it's going to go from here, I imagine it's going to continue to go down. But really, the big question is, where are these guys going to go next? There's been a lot of talk about AMC or BlackBerry, but already AMC has been going down since I heard about it last week. And like we pointed out earlier, once it hits the news media, it's probably already too late. But given that it was only like $13 a share, I picked up a few shares just to see what happens, and now it's down below $10. So it's already coming down. It didn't even go up that high.
What I would generally do is sell maybe 4 hours after it hits the mainstream media, because there's going to be a little bit of bounce from people who FOMO in on the last minute at the last minute, and they're going to lose.
That's what I did last week.
Yeah,
on AMC.
Yeah, well, there's going to be boneheads like Ian.
Yep.
And then
Ian's not a stock market boyfriend. He's a Bitcoin boyfriend.
Okay.
I still don't know what I'm doing with crypto either. I
That's
just
a
am
meme.
good. I'm good at holding a thing.
Well,
so.
I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, if I don't know, I trade a little more actively. And it's unclear. I mean, I think I'm a little ahead of where I would have been if I hadn't traded actively, but I'm not nearly as far ahead as I would have been if I hadn't cashed in all my Bitcoin to pay for an appeal.
That sucks.
Yeah, well,
So where is the big next one going to hit? We had a caller call in last night. Turd Ferguson called in, and he was pimping this naked stock.
He was getting scammed.
Well, now,
if once your building doorman or Turd Ferguson starts talking about something, it's time to get out.
Well, this naked thing actually made it into this CBS News report. It's actually toward the bottom of the report here. It says, Naked Brand Group, which sells intimate apparel for both men and women, on Monday announced it had sold more than 29 million shares in a follow-on offering at
That's the one that did the offering, yeah.
Meaning they added more stocks?
Yeah, they issued more shares. They said, well, okay, people are pumping and dumping our stock. Let's issue a bunch more shares and get a piece of that.
See, that way the company can make some money on it.
Exactly. That's how the
scam.
company would make money.
Well, I don't know whether it's a scam or not. I mean, it's definitely a legitimate way for the company to raise money, right?
It's not a scam. It's a way of making money off people who are trying to run a scam, really.
Yeah, that's smart.
If somebody is pumping in, like if I hold a coin and I find out there's a pump and dump going on, I'm going to sell that coin, I'll buy it back when the thing is over.
Tuesday, as of yesterday, Naked Brands fell to 91 cents each, which is a 45% drop from Monday's offering price. But their shares had traded for as little as 7 cents each as recently as November. Currently, they closed at 122, so they actually went up 34% in the last day. So I don't know. It's hard to say where the next thing's going to be, because Turd Ferguson said there's been a schism in the Wall Street markets, or the Wall Street Bets Reddit. So there's already a group of them that have split off from the main group. And so where do you go from here? Where's the next stop? Where are they going to be targeting?
And how big does the group have to be? I don't know. I'm in that Reddit. I'll
keep an eye on it. Let us know. There's more coming up here if you want to share. 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Does this ever happen to you? Moments after you're introduced to someone, you forget his or her name. It's a common faux pas you'll want to avoid, especially if you're a job seeker. And even if you're not, here's a tip. As you are being introduced, and while you're still shaking hands, smiling, and making eye contact, say the person's name aloud. Not only does that make a deposit in your memory bank, it acknowledges the other person. And that is more than a nuance, as is maintaining eye contact. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Yep, it's Free Talk Live. You can join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-4... Wait a minute. Wow. You let me get way too far.
It sounded so normal to me.
You let me get way too far into that one. That's the worst I've done.
That's the wrong phone number, Ian.
Yeah, the last month.
Did you go through the toll-free thing and all that?
Yeah, I totally did.
Good
Wow.
Lord, yeah.
Nope, can't do that. Don't listen to me. 603-283-6160. That's the number. That's the one that will work for you. How long has it been since we got rid of that?
If people aren't going to listen to you, what good are you?
Yeah, I think that's been a month now that we haven't had that toll-free line. So, yeah,
wow.
that's not going to work. 603-283-6160. You can tell when I'm not paying close attention because I do that.
It takes its toll.
Yeah. We were talking about the GameStop stock situation. I don't think there's much more to say about that, but if you do want to weigh in, maybe, again, you're paying close attention to what's going on in the Wall Street Bets community. Where are they going to target next? Can they get it together to where they actually can pull this off a second time? Or is the Wall Street goon squad going to be able to interdict in some way and sow seeds of dissent and break up the community?
I mean, the easiest thing for the Wall Street goon squad to do is to watch, is to actually put people in the Reddit.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
And
it's easy. They're all anonymous.
At that point, you can pretty much neuter a group like that because you know what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. And what made the GameStop thing successful is they were not on the map.
Right.
And
they didn't know.
It wasn't known it was coming.
I don't think that group of people can do it again.
Yeah.
I
think the
wish
same
they
people could do it again if they like regrouped somewhere else, but how are they going to do that?
But how do you organize that if you're
and
infiltrated?
how do you know who's not?
Right, who's there from the Wall Street? Yeah,
Yeah.
Who are your guys?
It's all anonymous, like website names or usernames.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I wish I could be more optimistic about this, and I hope that they can figure out a way to pull this off again, because it was brilliant and it was amazing, but it might have been a one-time, one-hit wonder.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that would be amazing would be to create a group that was specifically existed to change the Wall Street landscape by, but it would have to be. It probably couldn't be a group that large, but you could probably do a lot of good and make money at the same time if you were a smart person with a reasonably large pile, and you might well be able to do a lot of good while making your pile larger.
603-283-6160 is our number here tonight. We talked about the Oregon decriminalization as well, so you're certainly welcome to weigh in on that. In other news, a West Virginia news publisher has filed an antitrust lawsuit against Google and Facebook. Now, why?
Interesting.
Well, the two companies together receive about half of all digital ad dollars in the United States and are now facing antitrust charges from federal and state governments. The company, called HD Media, owns several newspapers in the state, and they claim Google has monopolized the online ad market so much that it, quote, threatens the extinction of local newspapers across the country, unquote. The suit also alleges that Google and Facebook conspired to further their dominance with a secret agreement, referring to a suit filed by 10 Republican attorneys general in December. The company does not specify the impact on its business of the behavior of Facebook and Google, beyond saying that it has hurt its ability to effectively monetize its content because Google is enabled to take an uncompetitive share of the news publisher's ad revenues. A lawyer for the company declined to speak on the record. This is a desperate stab in the dark at trying to stay alive.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, I hope that anybody and everybody who sues Google and or Facebook, no matter how wrong they are, I hope they win. But at the same time, this is nonsense. I mean, if they're offering a better service than you offer and you can't make your service competitive by cutting your prices or by improving your service or by producing more for your customers, then you deserve to cease to exist.
Right.
You should cease to exist and just go away.
Yeah, I think you pretty much summed it up there. I mean, look, these newspapers have been having a tough time adjusting to the digital world, and it's not Google's fault. It's not Facebook's fault. Whether it were Google or Facebook or some other companies that we never heard in this universe, there would be something else out there that is offering people ad revenues on the internet or ad venues on the internet, places where they can target their advertisements to specific groups of people. That's ultimately what Facebook and Google have allowed people to do, is to say, I don't just want to buy an ad that everyone looks at, which is what a newspaper is, right? Like everybody within whatever age range looks at the newspaper is seeing those ads. Whether they have beliefs in certain ways or not doesn't factor in. Whereas on Google or Facebook, you can target. You can say, if I only want people who are in Keene, New Hampshire, who are between the ages of 25 and 48, who are males, who are interested in hunting. You can just whittle this down till you get the exact group of potential prospects for your business that you want. Now, I'm not advocating that people use Google and Facebook. I think that they're not great as far as advertising venues go, but I can't deny that people get results from them. I mean, as much as I don't like Facebook, I can't tell you how many local businesses have told me that they've put ads on Facebook and have seen responses in real life from real life customers coming through the door. So
yeah, I mean, the problem with us is we're political and our politics don't match Facebook's politics.
Right. They won't even take your money.
Yeah. So, and even if they did, they would probably just basically shadow ban it or show it to people who won't respond to it well. So they can not technically defraud me, but
they're showing the ad.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, the ultimate of targeted marketing would be, imagine if you could get advertising dollars from both Planned Parenthood and some Right to Life organization, and then show pro-lifers the Right to Life ad and show the Planned Parenthood ad to the pro-choicers,
and make money off of both of them.
Yeah, make money off both of them, and you can only use one spot. You just switch what's in it.
Yeah, today I was thinking about how almost everything I find out about that I like, I found out about through social media.
Really?
Like all the clothes stores I like.
Music?
Some music, yeah, I guess, yeah.
A lot of people are on social media, and even you, didn't you quit Facebook recently? Or are you still?
Yeah, I deleted my Facebook. It was
wow, that's great. All of us are
corrupting
off of Facebook.
my mind. Or something.
I'm still on it. Once every couple of weeks, I'll go back in and just do a drive-by and hit a few people's pages. And there's one guy I call an idiot every week.
But you're pretty much off. I mean,
I'm pretty much off. I'm not on
constantly.
daily like I used to be.
I would see memories from like way back, and I would be like, 20-year-old Bonnie just shouldn't even be on the internet anymore, so I deleted it.
603-283-6160. HD Media, the company in West Virginia, they filed this antitrust lawsuit, and again, it makes the common mistake of calling Google and Facebook a monopoly. They're two different companies. Yes, they have a large share of advertising on the internet, but they don't have a monopoly. You can still purchase advertisements from other places on the internet. It is possible.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. I mean, nobody else is quite as evil as Google and Facebook.
No doubt.
On the internet. In
Monopoly
terms
on
of
evil.
The way they gather information on people. So they couldn't do the targeted marketing, but personally, I want no part of that.
Actually, I have to disagree with you, nobody. The government is more evil.
That's true,
Yes.
but they're not in the internet advertising space. The Google and Facebook are pretty much the government's outpost in the internet advertising space. And that is, of course, one of the big things is that Google and Facebook both became as ubiquitous as they are, at least in part because the mainstream media, which is the entertainment division of the military-industrial complex, pimped them.
I was thinking that about pop music recently, and it was kind of creeping me out. Like, Katy Perry has this song called Part of Me, and in it, she's like in the army, and she's like dancing. I'm like, is she
it's
just...
like real pro-military. I
is
remember
she just
that one.
like, yeah, I don't know, pimping the military?
So, totally. 603-283-6160. You can join us here, and hopefully I'll get the right phone number for the rest of the show. Hour 3's coming up. Free Talk Live.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive, and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
On the Fast Track, I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The House voting to move forward with a nearly $2 trillion coronavirus relief plan.
A mostly party-line vote in the Democratic-controlled House approved a budget resolution with instructions to begin work on a $1.9 trillion recovery plan proposed by President Biden.
Designed to meet the needs of a country that has been devastated by disease and recession.
Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the president wants lawmakers to go big. A vote on a budget resolution is expected this week in the Senate, even as Republican leader Mitch McConnell says the Democrats' go-it-alone strategy undermines bipartisan unity. The budget reconciliation process allows Senate Democrats to approve a COVID bill with a simple majority and without Republican support. On Capitol Hill, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Cases of COVID-19 are on a downward trajectory, but White House coronavirus medical advisor Dr. Anthony Fauci says precautions still need to be taken, including social distancing.
There's nothing wrong with people wearing 2 masks. I often myself wear 2 masks. Can we make a general recommendation that doesn't have scientific basis yet? No.
And he went on to say when the science does come along, then there will be a recommendation from the CDC. A white Columbus, Ohio police officer has been charged with murder for the December shooting death of Andre Hill. Adam Coy was indicted by a grand jury in Franklin County after an investigation by the Attorney General's office. Coy and another officer had responded to a call about a car running in front of a home. Body cam footage showed Hill coming from a garage with a cell phone in his hand, and he was shot seconds later. Prosecutors in Kenosha, Wisconsin are asking for a new arrest warrant for Kyle Rittenhouse, the teen charged with shooting 3 people, killing 2 in August during protests after the killing of Jacob Blake. America is listening to Fox News.
Why are you still going to the post office? Do it all online with Stamps.com. Avoid trips to the post office, print postage, send invoices, letters, or packages, and schedule pickups right from your home or office. 24/7. Get close to 10% off first-class stamps, up to 40% off priority mail, and up to 62% off UPS shipping rates. Go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone, and enter code FOX for a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale. Stamps.com, code FOX.
A vote planned in the House tomorrow to remove Georgia Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene from her committee assignments. Democrats and some Republicans have objected to Greene's social media posts, which lend support to conspiracy theories. Democratic Caucus Chair Hakeem Jeffries is calling on the House Republican leadership to act.
The best thing that could happen at this moment is for Kevin McCarthy to make clear that she should not be on the Education and Labor Committee.
McCarthy condemned Greene's remarks, but he called the move to remove Greene from committee assignments a distraction to Congress, and in a statement made no mention to reprimand her. A Missouri state lawmaker indicted in a stem cell fraud scheme.
A federal grand jury has indicted state rep Dr. Patricia Durgis on fraud charges after she allegedly falsely promoted a treatment that she was selling at her 3 medical clinics in southern Missouri as containing stem cells that could treat various diseases, including coronavirus.
Her claims regarding her ability to treat COVID-19 were part of a broader pattern
of misleading and deceiving patients and potential patients.
U.S. Attorney Tim Garrison also accusing Dr. Durgis of illegally providing prescription drugs to clients and making false statements to investigators. The 63-year-old Republican state rep in a court appearance pleading not guilty to all charges in the case. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Officials in Clark County, Nevada are taking steps to make roads safer for bicyclists after a fatal accident in
Free Talk Live.
Why do you refer to someone that's a genetic anomaly as a boy pretending to be a girl, as if this was just some whim they took into their head overnight, as opposed to somebody who is actually born with a genetic problem, which means their mind and their body are mismatched?
We're not talking about the ones that have the two X and Y. We're talking about the boy who just decided.
Have you ever actually met and had a conversation with a transsexual?
No.
Well, it would actually be really a good idea to dispel some of your ignorance before you start spouting it all over national radio like there's not enough ignorance to go around in America. Goodbye. Bye, Felicia.
Oh, man.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Citing their effortless physical strength, affability, and notable base tans, reports from the country's pools, lakes, and beaches have indicated that once again, the nation's Blakes coasted effortlessly through this year's seasonal lifeguard tryouts. Onion reporters spoke with Cincinnati Centennial Pool's manager, Charles Walker, about the exceptional performance of his Blakes.
We always see strong performances from Blakes, but this year's crop did especially well. Blake D did the 25-yard underwater swim in 86 seconds. Blake S and Blake C both carried subjects 40 yards without breaking a sweat.
In addition to qualifying as pool managers and certified aquatics instructors, the nation's Blakes significantly outshined the nation's stewards in swimming, performing CPR, diving, and glistening.
I'm definitely looking forward to being a lifeguard this summer. I heard the test was kind of hard, but it was actually kind of easy.
Our Kaylas are looking pretty strong too. As long as we have a few Blakes and Kaylas out there on the weekends, we'll be set.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, kicking off the third hour. The number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio with you tonight, you've got Ian,
Bonnie,
and nobody.
So there is a story that I've been mentioning on the air. We hadn't gotten around to it, so it's finally time to do that. The latest from Kim.com. Who is Kim.com? Nobody? Do you know who this guy is?
Nobody knows who this guy is. Oh, no, that was Satoshi. Kim.com is a New Zealand dude who started, what was it called? Mega Upload.
Is it a cult?
I don't think so.
No, it was a file sharing service.
Yeah, you could upload whatever files you wanted up to some number of gigabytes, and people would use it for things like uploading DVDs and music and things that weren't legal to upload and share, but they were doing that
So
fairly
just like
wide.
they do with YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube does take those things down, obviously, when they're brought to their attention, and I suspect Mega Upload did as well, but Mega Upload didn't have the lawyers that YouTube has, so they came after Mega Upload and targeted them, and they arrested the Mega Upload's founder, that is Kim.com, a man who changed his name from whatever it was at birth to Kim, K-I-M, last name .com, D-O-T-C-O-M. So that's actually his legal name.
I'm kind of surprised he didn't make his middle name Dot.
Yeah, I guess he didn't.
Oh, well.
For whatever reason. But news.bitcoin.com had an interview recently with Kim.com, and this is actually more about how Kim.com is weighing in behind Bitcoin Cash. Not so much an update on his current extraction status, because he's currently still awaiting a extradition from New Zealand, where he lives, to the United States to face charges of copyright violations, which is what they're charging him and his associates with for Mega Upload, in a raid that happened back in 2012. So he's literally been waiting for nearly a decade of his life continuing to fight in court with God knows how many lawyers and how much money is being spent on these attorneys' fees just to try to stop the extradition process.
Is he in jail?
He is not, thankfully.
Well, the RIAA owns a lot of politicians, and they're not afraid to use them. The copyright, for example, was supposed to be quid pro quo. And
what do you mean by that?
The quid pro quo was what you gave in exchange for copyright is at the end of the copyright period, your stuff goes into the public domain. Well, now it's like 75 years after your death. They've increased it over and over and over again to the point where, 99% that is copyrighted will not be out of copyright until long after it's completely worthless.
Is it probably because corporations don't die?
Well, that's another issue, but, even if it was, it started out being less than 20 years. Which,
really,
it was probably not a bad thing at that point. I still wouldn't be in favor of it because there's no natural right to copyright. And the only purpose of government is to defend your rights, and there's certainly no natural right to patent. If you're a caveman in the state of nature and you decide to, and you and your neighbor both have digging sticks and, you sharpen your digging stick and it works better for you. Well, if your neighbor decides the next day to sharpen his digging stick, you don't have a right to go, club him over the head and make him stop. That's absurd.
So recently, news.bitcoin.com, which is a great site to go and get the latest headlines about cryptocurrency, chatted with Kim.com, the founder of now defunct file hosting service Mega Upload and the creator of the content monetization application called K.im, which I had not heard of. The internetentrepreneur.com is a big believer when it comes to the crypto economy, and during the conversation was discussed subjects like Bitcoin Cash and the recent big tech censorship and how cryptocurrencies will forward financial freedom. He is, of course, a well-known internet entrepreneur and political activist that believes the crypto economy will continue to swell in value. And by the way, he's been saying this for years. I've followed him on Twitter, and he recently, I think it was in 2020, when Bitcoin price, started to go up again, he pointed out, hey, I told you so, like years ago. He sort of reposted a post where he said buy Bitcoin, in 2016 or something like that, and it would have been a good thing to listen to back then. He was the CEO of the now-defunct file hosting platform Mega Upload, which was taken down by the U.S. government in 2012. But before the takedown, Mega Upload served 180 million registered members and had 50 million visits per day.
Wow.
Currently,
why is there something like that on the dark web now?
I suspect that there is, but there's on the normal web, there are things that sort of took the concept of Mega Upload to the next level, and I believe Kim.com was involved in founding one of them, Mega.nz. And so he founded another site, and then I believe he sold it off to some Chinese buyers or something like that. But the claim on that site is that the files, so it had like a certain amount of space, like Mega Upload offered, some number of gigabytes, and you could just sign up and get a free account and get that number of gigabytes. And if you wanted to upgrade, you could pay for an upgrade and get more gigabytes or whatever, terabytes or whatever you'd get. And the idea is that the company didn't have access to your files because they're all encrypted with your username and password as like the encryption hash or something like that on these files. So ultimately the problem with Mega Upload was there wasn't any encryption on Mega Upload. This was, back before that was even something people paid attention to, and so all of the illegal files that people were uploading to Mega Upload were in the clear, so to speak. So Mega Upload did know what was on their system, or they could know if they went and they looked. Whereas this other site, Mega.nz, and again, I'm not endorsing it. I don't know if it's true what they say. Obviously, I don't know if it's probably not even open source. So it's just the claim.
Well, you can certainly accomplish that very reliably by just PGP encrypting your file before you ever send it to them.
A cloud.
And then you don't have to trust them.
That's true.
What is open source?
Open source is software that is sold with the, or not sold, software to which the source code is available. So basically, it's not only a program that your machine knows how to run, but you can read the set of instructions that make up the program and see what it really does for yourself.
If you're a programmer. I
mean, you have to know what it means, and it's going to be in a programming language, not in English. But
so, like, if you could read it, you could verify that it was really encrypted?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So .com is now working on a content monetization application called K.im, which will meld the benefits of cryptocurrency solutions and file hosting. Which you'll have to look into that and see what that's all about. Apparently,
yeah, that sounds like maybe a more advanced IPFS kind of deal.
I don't know. It hasn't launched yet. It says here it's expected to launch in the fourth quarter of this year. .com has revealed the next generation content monetization app will see Bitcoin Cash integration. During the conversation, he spoke about a recent demand for digital assets and why Bitcoin Cash has a lot of upside potential and the recent big tech censorship. The question from Bitcoin.com was, while the global economy has been extremely gloomy, cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin have seen significant demand. Do you think cryptocurrencies will continue to shine in 2021? And .com said, what we've seen with the global economy because of the pandemic, in my mind, is really just the beginning of greater global distress of the economy and currencies, simply because governments are printing money to finance debt. In the U.S. alone, in 2020, over 30% of all the U.S. dollars in existence have been created during that year. It's just not sustainable. You cannot keep printing money to pay what is required.
Doesn't he understand modern monetary theory?
Yeah, I think he does understand it.
We can all make ourselves rich by just printing money. All they need to do is give every citizen a printing press, and he can print as much money as he wants to, and we can all be rich, filthy rich, and lord it over. Oh wait, who are we going to lord it over if everybody has as many? What are we going to spend it on if everybody has as many dollars as they want? Okay,
yeah,
never mind. There's a hole in my plan.
Yeah, you don't have to think real hard about it to find the hole in that plan. But apparently a lot of people don't think real hard about it, or at all. 603-283-6160. More on Kim.com weighing in on Bitcoin Cash and the future of money. It's Free Talk Live.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. The number is 603-283-6160. If you want to join us here, you can take control of the airwaves. 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's Ian,
Bonnie,
and nobody.
And coming up in the summertime, June 28th through July 4th, you'll want to join us at Forkfest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Mark your calendar now. Book your campsite, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Now, that's the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which on its own is a fine event. But Forkfest is decentralized, meaning that there is no ticket cost and there's no organizer, there's no official schedule. But what there is a bunch of liberty-minded folks hanging out at the same campground, and that means they will come up with things to do. From what I understand, the band FUD, which includes a couple of our co-hosts, is going to be playing again. They played the first show, the first musical show that Forkfest has ever had in its 5-year history. This will be its 5th year coming up. And they're going to do another musical show, so we're going to have another live musical show from FUD. Free Talk Live, of course, will be broadcasting. We've heard now from the AnyPay boys that they're going to have a dome up for both weeks, both the Porcupine Freedom Festival and Forkfest this coming year. So they're actually looking to rent out their dome this year for the first time.
Oh, really?
Which is pretty interesting. Yeah, they're going to rent it out by the hour, apparently.
Well, if you're listening and you know some strippers, give me an email at nobody@electnobody.com because I've got a use for that dome if I can find some dancers.
It's always strippers and prostitutes with nobody.
It's rarely nobody. It's rarely strippers and prostitutes with nobody. That's why nobody is so grumpy. And one day, I hope it will always be strippers and prostitutes with nobody, because then nobody will be a happy nobody, but it'll probably be no good on the air because I mostly rant.
Forkfest.party. You can go to learn more about the event there and connect with the Forkfest chat room on Telegram, where people have been arguing about all kinds of stuff. I think you've been in there talking to people over the last days.
Oh, yeah. I've been busting Mikey the Bigot's balls.
Yeah. He's a character. Check that out over at Forkfest.
Yeah, he's just a character from a bad movie.
He's one of those guys that acts differently in real life than he does online. You know?
Yeah.
I'm going to find him and not buy anything from his tent.
Yep. Oh, he's easy to find.
Yeah.
We'll
I actually buy stuff from his tent. I don't hate the guy. I like the guy, but some of his ideas are just they're the kind of ideas that are so bad that you have to say something.
Say something, yeah.
It's like if somebody starts bringing up communism, it's like, yeah, I gotta respond to that.
Do you think he's really as racist as he comes across, or is that just trolling on the internet?
I think that. Well, I hope that when he actually meets a person of another persuasion, he judges them as a person rather than as a category first, because, we
can hope.
The problem with the category thing is it tends to be wrong in like 30% of the cases, which makes it mathematically worthless. And so and I say at least 30%, not because I think that's the maximum of nonsense in it, but because that's a sufficient number to make it mathematically worthless. Because, if normal is 50-50 and a statistical variance from that, but you only know the variance up to 30%, what you know is nothing more than you knew at 50-50.
I've always thought even racist jokes are like part of the problem because you're just like making it normal to act like that.
Yeah. I mean, I think they can be, or I think they cannot be. And the reason I say that is like my buddy Kirby, who he's this guy I met through the show. And
he calls in.
Yeah, he calls in regularly, and I've gotten to know him like in real life. And like, he's black, and one of the things that I want to do with him when he gets up here is watch Blazing Saddles, which is chock full of racial jokes. But the reason is because he was saying that, in the 70s, he could sit down with a white guy and watch Blazing Saddles and they could both laugh their asses off it. And the reason is because there are racial jokes in there, but they're not made in a mean-spirited way. And there's a difference.
Well, there used to be a time when people could laugh at themselves, or people could laugh at their religion, or laugh at their color of their skin, or whatever.
But the thing is, you can. It also depends on how a joke is delivered.
Yeah.
You can see, in the face and in the demeanor of somebody whether he whether he thinks he's revealing some truth when he tells a joke. And and that's what I would call mean-spirited, is when they actually believe it's true. But when you're just riffing on the stereotype, then no, it should be cool for people to do that. And
I agree.
But it should be done without hate, and it's because it's been done with hate so much that it's become a sore spot.
I feel like stereotypes themselves can just be bad, though. Like, I don't think something that isn't 100% true of all people of a race is a stereotype, and then you're pushing that idea, that stigma.
The thing is, there are things that are good to know. Like there are cultural differences where I'm trying to think of one. I know there's a couple of things that you just don't do around Japanese people. Okay,
like a hand signal or something.
But I mean, even that would be like people from a country. That's not people's race. That's just the way that the people who the goons over that continent have created a land.
Well, but there's still stereotypes about people from certain countries or cultures. I mean, race or not.
Yeah, I mean, there's...
But that's what people are conflating it with. They'll be like, if you make a Japanese culture joke, people are going to be thinking the people that look like Japanese people. I don't know. I just think it's just not funny. Like, why are stereotypes funny anymore? Like,
yeah, I mean, they're funny when they're funny. And that's the thing. It's like, but what's humor? Humor to me, laughter is your reward for recognition of error. Okay, so it's just following a weird leap of logic. A mistake where you can understand how the mistake was made.
Well, a lot of humor has a target. There's usually somebody who's the victim of the joke.
Yeah, well, there's a butt of pretty much every joke, because as Michael Valentine Smith said in Stranger in a Strange Land, sometimes we laugh because otherwise we gotta cry.
603-283-6160 if you want to join the program here and share your thoughts on stereotypes or jokes. Or we're going to get back into cryptocurrency with Kim.com coming up, and your calls are also welcome. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Talk Live. You dial in here. 603-283-6160 is our number. With you tonight, it's Ian.
Bonnie.
Nobody.
And you can bring up anything you want. That is the point here on Free Talk Live. More with Kim.com, the founder of Mega Upload, facing years in prison in the United States for so-called copyright crimes, quote-unquote crimes. But he's weighing in on the future of money and cryptocurrencies. We'll get a little bit more out of him in just a moment here.
And he's actually, I was very pleased by the way he put what he put because, as an economist, he was spot on.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I shudder when these celebrity guys talk about economics, even if they're on my side.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they don't understand it very well. But, what he said was absolutely spot on technically.
Yeah, I don't know if he would describe himself as a libertarian, but he sure has got it right on this issue. There's no doubt about that.
Well, and it's hard not to be a libertarian once you understand this issue because, when you understand the magnitude of the scam
of the money printing
of printing money and the theft, the wholesale theft.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
That they've made from the rest of the world.
It's the worst tax out there.
Henry Ford said that it is well that the people do not understand how the banking system of this country works, because if they did, I believe we would have a revolution before morning.
Yeah, that's a good one. Let's go to your calls and thoughts here. We got Anarcho-Republican. He wanted to weigh in on the discussion about stereotypes, racism, and jokes. Anarcho-Republican calling from Montana. You're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, I disagree with the idea that stereotypes aren't funny. I think they are funny. I think the reason people laugh is because they are largely true. And when you talk about something being 30% true or 60% true, I think that's true in each person. I think if you look at whatever ethnicity you are and you say, well, how many of the stereotypes apply to me, you'll see that probably 60% apply to you. And that's why they're, you think about doing the opposite. Let me give you an example. Here's a joke. What's one of the shortest books I ever read? Black People I Met Yachting. Okay? Well, that's a joke, all right?
What?
Yachting.
Now, Yabbing?
Yachting, as in being on a boat.
Yachting.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the 3 shortest books. There's other, I forget the rest of them. Black Folks I Met Yachting. Okay, now if you made a joke about black people yachting,
you got?
It's only funny because it's true. There's not a lot of black people who yacht.
Why is that funny?
Fact. It's a denial of the truth, and what comedy does is it's so important because the jester was the one person who could point to the king and say, "You've got no clothes on."
Well, as a Shakespeare lover, I can say
what
that's
this wokey-doke
true.
stuff is doing is it's denying that. And let me give you another example of something that's been talked about today. There's a editorial in the Washington Post where they're calling for a truth czar. They're calling for all the high-tech guys,
Oh, yeah, that's
Rasputin.
terrifying. They're actually forming a ministry of truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, this
Yeah.
is the world we live in, and so comedy is the one thing that can change that. And if we turn comedy into nothing but, they say Saturday Night Live stinks right now. Well, it stinks because the
They've
only
said that for
comedy they know how to
decades.
do is hatred.
It has stunk for decades.
Yeah, but
I don't know. I
hatred
think
because
lots
it's
of
not really
Republicans.
comedy.
I think lots of Republicans try to turn don't make racist jokes into me saying you shouldn't have the ability to say what you want to say. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, how is that funny? You're so old and it's not timely to make that yacht joke you just made. It's really dumb.
The joke I made was it was a dumb joke because the
I
rest
didn't
of them I
find
probably
it
couldn't get
amusing.
away
And,
with saying.
I'll bet you Michael Jackson had a yacht if he wanted one, certainly.
But was he black?
Well,
Michael Jackson was black.
I mean,
Not at the end.
He faded with
Well, you see what I'm
age,
saying.
but,
In other words, no one makes jokes about the ballroom dancers that are, I don't know, Norwegian or something. It just
see,
doesn't
now
work,
you've challenged me. I've got to figure out a joke about a Norwegian ballerina.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So, the reality is it is true, and it's just a denial of truth. And when you live in a world that's just denying truth, it gets really exhausting.
Yeah, well, the thing
anyway,
is...
hey, guys,
things are true until they're
you
not.
Guys, I'm one of your allies, okay? I'm not an enemy. I'm an ally.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think
I
nobody
don't
was
see
trying
you
to
as an
talk to you.
enemy.
Go ahead. Nobody, you were saying? Things are either true or...
well, the thing is, there are some things like that you don't joke about, okay? You don't joke about a guy's mother unless you know him well enough that you can, because there's some people that will completely snap over that. And so so what I think is vital and what I think is a healthy balance is, you don't joke with the Japanese person about atomic bombs. He might have lost family about it,
you should know your audience.
You should know your audience, and you should be careful not to be a dick.
Well, okay.
And
so
that's the thing.
That's a
so
different
many
story,
people
but
have
that's
been
the difference
dicks.
between a successful comedian and a non-successful comedian. But you know what? A lot of successful comedians were dicks.
Well, yeah. I mean, Don
From Jerry
Rickles
Lewis on down, man, and
is
that's
the
the
great.
best part about it. So no, I don't agree with what you're saying. I know what you're saying. There's good taste and there's bad taste and there's getting punched in the nose and you deserve it. I get that. When you say something about someone's mother and you get punched in the nose, you deserve it.
I mean, I guess what I came up with, because I had to think about this problem in the abstract, because I'm looking at building, let me not say a militia unit, a cop block group, that is it's designed. One of the important things about it is having it multiracial, because I want it to be able to go into a Black Lives Matter event or something like that without looking like counter protesters. Okay, but at the same so I had to think about, in the abstract as a leader, what would I do if some guy in the unit threw out the N-word and got slugged for it. And so my policy ended up being, well, we're a fighting unit, and fighting units fight, and if they don't have anybody to fight, they fight each other. So you can say whatever you want, but if he takes you outside and whips you, I'm just going to laugh at you if what you said was,
Thank you, Anarcho-Republican,
worth a whooping,
for your call here tonight. I mean, one thing's for sure, humor is something that everybody has a different tolerance for.
Yeah.
And some people say it's too soon whenever some sort of tragedy happens. I'm one who believes it's never too soon. Crack the jokes.
See, I think there are times when it is too soon, just because even though the reaction of somebody who feels further injured is it may be completely irrational, but I know that such people exist, and I try to love my fellow man, and so I try not to do something that's going to magnify somebody else's pain
but at
a bad time.
But on the
even if their pain will be magnified through some logical error of those.
I get what you're saying, but now you're talking about
facts.
Okay, but now you're talking about reducing the amount of fun that you have and the amount of laughter you get because you're worried about what some snowflake's going to think.
Well,
because there's always going to be some snowflake
upset. And if you want to go to funerals and crack jokes and laugh, you can do that.
Well, again, you have to know your audience.
But,
you wouldn't go to a funeral.
And that's what I'm saying. Know your audience. Be kind. And be careful, because I told a joke to my mother in a restaurant once that contained the N-word, and she said, don't ever say that, because somebody walking by doesn't know you're telling a joke.
That's right. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. But I wouldn't say hold back on telling a good joke, because somebody might get offended.
I would.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. Go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information, neatly organized for your needs. If you're a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com where you can get the latest headlines. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. All put together by the best minds in the business to teach you about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, kicking off the final segment here of this episode. No worries, we're always here every single night of the week. If you didn't get your call in tonight, it's not too late. You can still jump in at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Tonight, you've got Ian,
Bonnie,
and Nobody.
Check out Nobody at electnobody.com for more of him. Actually, you can see him in the latest video that I posted on the Free Keene YouTube channel, where he is having it out with a phalanx of armed thugs, a bunch of state police officers. Actually, it was the three of us that went out there.
I busted their balls, didn't I?
Yeah.
You gave them a preaching to.
Yeah, you gave them a good sermon.
I gave them a sermon. Oh, I like it when I get them in the sermon mode.
And I hope some of them thought about what you had to say when they did go home at night, as you had invited them to do, and to think about whether they were.
I hope so, because nobody appreciates those guys.
The sermon's in the video.
It is, and nobody encouraged these goons to go home and think about whether they were on the right side or the wrong side of
Well, the thing
freedom.
is, the tragic figure in this whole soap opera that we call life, or one of the tragic figures, is the guy who became a cop because he wanted to help people.
Yeah, and now he's enforcing, arresting a man for saying a few words to the cops. That's what our friend got arrested for on Sunday.
And some of those guys have got not all of those guys are psychopaths.
That's true.
Some of them
That's
are.
true.
Some of them are just blind. Some of them just don't understand.
Some of them may understand, but they're afraid to quit their jobs or do anything about it.
Yeah, and that's
cowards.
I mean, that's the thing is, some of them are salvageable,
Okay.
and I believe in redemption.
I think so too. And I've always treated them as human beings and individuals. And I wouldn't say always, but after I moved here, I changed my viewpoint more than a decade ago.
Yeah, see, I go back and forth. I go through cycles of anger with them, especially because being involved with Cop Block and reading, Police the Police and the Free Thought Project, every day I'm seeing a new atrocity.
Oh yeah,
that was
or more than one.
was carried out. And so it
can be hard to stay calm in a situation like that, no doubt about it.
Yeah, and sometimes I run my mouth more. But, if somebody said to me, look, I'm a cop and I don't think I should be anymore, will you listen to my story? I would be like, yeah, of course I'll listen to your story. And, and I'm a pope, so I have to do that. Even if somebody does something reprehensible, it has to be able to tell it to somebody.
Yep.
If you can't tell the pope, who can you tell?
Check out the video at freekeen.com.
I mean,
It's
not
the
other pope. He's scary.
It's the latest video on the Free Keen YouTube channel as well. So if you want to see what happened in front of the governor's house on Sunday, which involved the three of us and about 15 other people and then like 20 plus cops, you can see the video for yourself at freekeen.com. So back to the story here from Bitcoin.com's news site, news.bitcoin.com. They're interviewing Kim.com. He's the founder of Mega Upload, and he is now backing Bitcoin Cash. He's talking about the devaluation of the fiat monies, and especially the U.S. dollar going on. He says, quote, I think there's a significant devaluation of the U.S. dollar happening, and that is driving the demand for cryptocurrencies. Digital currencies are now seen to be more stable than fiat currencies. If that trend continues, which I think it will, it's going to accelerate the devaluation of fiat currencies, therefore causing significant disturbances in the markets as well.
See, that's crazy that people would regard cryptocurrencies as stable. I mean, my God, they've taken off faster than any other investment. There is nothing that has returned the return on investment that Bitcoin has. That's not stable. That's rocketing upward.
Well, by comparison to fiat currencies that are going
Which
down,
is rocketing
down,
downwards by definition at exactly the same rate.
I don't know if it's exactly the same, but
well, it is, because one is the inverse of the other. The upward change in Bitcoin is a downward change in dollars.
There's more factors into why Bitcoin is becoming popular than just the fact that fiat is being printed, but that's certainly a factor.
Well, I mean, it's not just the increase in the fiat, it's that the increase in the fiat has made the whole system a bad deal for investors, and they want to be someplace else. So yeah, it can go to infinity. The dollar can go to zero.
Bitcoin.com.
For all we care. For all we care.
Indeed.
And it technically can, and probably eventually will, except for collectors.
Bitcoin.com said, recently you said Bitcoin Cash has a great upside potential and is currently undervalued. Can you tell our readers why you think this is the case? Kim.com says there are a couple of factors. One factor is that Bitcoin Cash, BCH, already does around 10% of the transaction volume that Bitcoin BTC does. But BCH is only valued at 1% of the current valuation of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin Cash is 1% of a Bitcoin. So that's a little bit of a discrepancy there. It's a very simple way to understand why it's undervalued. Another reason is that Bitcoin Cash, unlike Bitcoin, is electronic cash, where Bitcoin wants to be electronic gold. Bitcoin is not really...
And Bitcoin will never be electronic gold. That's nonsense. What are you going to make out of Bitcoin? A necklace?
Bitcoin is not really, he says, what you use to pay for things online. If you go and buy an apple and transaction fees cost more than the fruit, that's not a viable electronic cash solution. And he's absolutely right about that.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for telling the truth on that. I am so sick of people shilling BTC when anybody who knows anything about crypto knows that it's transactions that you're paying for. And if you can't make transactions with it, it's not gold, it's static electricity. Okay? What are you going to do with it?
I sent a Bitcoin BTC transaction today for just under $19 from an exchange. It was insane.
There's only one way I'll accept BCC, and that is if BTC, and that is if you send it to my exchange account.
So you can trade it right away.
And the reason is because I won't pay a fee on it to move it somewhere else. If for some reason you have to send it to me and I'm going to have to send it to the exchange, I'm going to charge you an extra $25 because I don't have time to look up what it is at the moment.
Now when you look at the transactions, this is again Kim.com continuing to say, now when you look at the transaction volume potential for Bitcoin Cash, it's significantly higher than that of Bitcoin because of the parameters of Bitcoin Cash. It has very low fees currently on txstreet.com. You can look at the fees there. It says the average median fee for a Bitcoin Cash transaction is looks like 1/10 of 1% of one tenth of a cent rather per transaction. He says.
Okay. So if one coin can do a transaction at a fraction of a penny, and another coin costs $10 to do the same transaction.
Yeah, it's insane.
That's not electronic gold. That's garbage. That's absolute garbage.
And when the market figures that out.
Well, the market will figure that out. You know, I really think that the price differential of Bitcoin versus the other coins is just because it's being pumped by the Federal Reserve and her minions.
He says you don't have that with BTC, so Bitcoin Cash is likely to take a more significant share of daily, real-life transactional volume. That's where the upside potential lies, and that's why I think Bitcoin Cash is undervalued. Bitcoin.com asks, you said the other day you plan to make Bitcoin Cash the leading electronic cash solution in the world, and you plan to help accelerate the use of Bitcoin Cash. How do you plan to do that? He says, so global credit card transactions are about 1.01 billion per day. I think that Bitcoin Cash in the next 10 years will be able to compete with that. More and more vendors are accepting Bitcoin Cash at their point of sale, and we are going to accelerate that with partnerships, getting big retail chains to accept Bitcoin Cash like grocery markets and really anything that does big volumes of transactions. Then, of course, online transactions, as well as nothing works better and smoother than Bitcoin Cash. It's already a proven system with over 100,000 vendors that have implemented it, so you can see there's a demand for a solution that's cheaper and better than traditional credit cards. And I hope he's right. I mean, I hope that he it sounds like he's really getting behind this. And with Kim.com, you know, I mean, he's just one guy, but he's a fairly wealthy man, and he, you know, some people pay attention to what he has to say. So if he's back in Bitcoin Cash, I think that bodes well for its future, and more people who are serious about using cryptocurrency as money should look at Bitcoin Cash. They should also look at Dash. Dash is another transactional cryptocurrency. It's called digital cash. That's what Dash stands for, and it's basically, it was doing what Bitcoin Cash is doing before Bitcoin Cash even existed. So it's worth a look at as well.
Does it have tokens on it though?
No, it doesn't.
So it doesn't do what Bitcoin Cash does.
No.
I still think Bitcoin, I'm going to come out and say it, Bitcoin Cash is the real Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not Bitcoin. It is not Satoshi's vision. And Bitcoin Satoshi's vision certainly isn't Satoshi's version.
Out of time.
Because he didn't see it being led by a con man.
Oh, that's SV.
Anyone who wants to respond to him will have to call tomorrow night. We'll see you then. freetalklive.com. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are all